Hello my friends and welcome back. I am back and I'm ready to attack, and I had a fantastic vacation, but now I'm ready to focus on the topic again, and I want to start with something very peculiar. It's Russian propaganda. You couldn't make this stuff up, but luckily you don't have to because they make it up. It is crazy. You know, Russian Duma officially declared the International Satanist Organization a terrorist group, a terrorist organization. Now, it doesn't really exist that much, or if it does, it's really small and local somewhere, some local Satanists. But what are the odds that a few days after Russian Duma declares International Satanist Organization a terrorist group, Russians find a Ukrainian Satanist altar in the basement of a village that supposedly was made by retreating Ukrainian soldiers that was abandoned, you know. But the interesting fact is that Russians have controlled this village for the last 5 months. How did it get there? It's pure Russian propaganda creation, but it's so rare and so peculiar. I want to share it with you. The dude goes down to the basement, and what does he find? This is it. Look at this Satanist altar of the Ukrainian army. The thing is, obviously, okay, cards on the table. This is made by the Russians. It's just Moscow films, you know, Russian propaganda, staging this stuff right after the Duma declared it, you know, a terrorist organization. So they're making it for Russian internal viewership. But the thing is, somebody had to make it. Some Russian propagandist had to go down to this basement. It's like, this is the perfect place for my shot. All right. How to make a Satanist altar? And I think he asked ChatGPT. I mean, you have a gong here, you have a chalice, you have some kind of a goat's head or skull, you have a candle. I mean, this is pure ChatGPT tutorial. How to make a Satanist's altar. We have many strategic, serious news coming up in this video later, but I wanted to begin this with more of funny because 1st of August, we all need to laugh a little bit. This one, again, you couldn't make it up, and you don't have to, because the Russian Ministry of Defense does it for you. This is a mother who lost her son in a Storm Z, or a Russian meat assault, in a frontline attack. And you know what the Ministry of Defense gives her? Look at it. Let's leave the stone in the regiment as a monument. Thank God for the stone. Okay, then we take the stone. Thank God for the stone. The Ministry of Defense of Russia, Sergei Shoigu, took under his personal control all the help of this family. You know, I lost my son, but at least I have this stone. I got a stone for it, not even a bag of potatoes, not even few fishes. I got a stone. In Russia, you got you're a part of the Storm Z. You storm like your great-grandfather in the Second World War. You liberate, you know, whatever, Bakhmut, like he liberated Berlin. That's what they sell to people. And he got a stone for it, a grand monument, an eternal flame for the fallen of the World War II. And you get a stone, but this stone looks a little bit cheaper, honestly. Look at that stone. I want that stone. But now, my friends, I want to bring you a story from the Ukrainian Armed Forces. This is one of the craziest rescue missions of a lone soldier I've seen. It's a little bit like Saving Private Ryan, only modernized and with an electric bike. I kid you not. A soldier who had been holding the line for 5 days at position of 360 degrees. That means lone soldier shooting at all directions, not allowing Storm Z units to pass, and it took down quite many orcs actually around him, unable to evacuate on his own. He was delivered a 40-kilogram electric bike directly to his position. And this was like a rescue mission. I mean, they had a recon drone up in the air. As you can see, they have a big screen showing his location, showing Russian orcs around him. He actually sent one of the Russian orcs to sleep with the fishes with a massive mine. We can see it all in this video. Okay, I can hear you fine. They do have radio communication with the command. I can hear you fine. Come on, let's start. That's the dude, that's the Ukrainian. He's taken a mine, an anti-tank mine, and throwing it into the bushes where there is a Russian orc. And supposedly the mine hit a drone on the ground which had an explosive on it still, and they both exploded, making a massive kaboom, which I will not show you here. But we will go forward. After that, there was no orcs anymore, and the Ukrainian command used a Baba Yaga, a B quadrocopter, to deliver him a 40-kilogram electric bike to evacuate on his own. This is something out of the world of science fiction. I simply had no choice. I would take that to mine. It just so happened that I hit the drone where the where the orc was sitting. He threw his last grenade. The grenade hit the drone, and the drone exploded along with the grenade. I mean, this is a crazy chain of events that happened and eliminated the orc who was holding him and not letting him go. Hurry up, hurry up. To the max, as quickly as possible, And they're lowering the motorcycle here. If someone had told me that one day we would be delivering a 40-kilogram bicycle by air, I mean, this is an insane rescue mission right after the guy who had been fighting for 5 days in this location threw an anti-tank mine onto an enemy drone a few feet away, which exploded, taking the orc with it. It's a crazy, out of this world story. My friends, doing what I do, I'm a target. I have chosen a side, therefore I must protect myself online. This is why I have partnered up with Surfshark VPN. Using a VPN is like wearing pants. All the important stuff stays private and secure when you step your foot outside. A VPN, virtual private network, covers your whole online activity. Once your device connects to the internet, all the information is encrypted or blurred out in a way. That way, your online activity is hidden from all snoopers and trackers. Since it is tedious to get all security services from different providers, I just use Surfshark One, which gives me a VPN, alternative ID, antivirus, and they also have an alert system if they discover a data breach. A little perk I enjoy is their ads and malware extinction. No advertisements or cookie pop-ups. I hate those things. Thank you, Surfshark. Go to surfshark.com/ArturRehi or use the code ArturRehi at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring today's video. Alright, my friends, now on to some more serious news. Just to illustrate that Russians have not changed their tactics, meanwhile, where I was having my vacation, they have increased the use of these tactics. For example, in this specific video, you can see 2 girls of Ukrainian army, they're medics, treating 2 Russian POWs. Now, these 2 POWs were part of a 110-man group sent to charge on Luhansk direction, one of the front lines in the Luhansk direction. Their commander, codenamed Zek, marched with them to the front line, then urged them forward, and then disappeared, walked back. This is what the Storm Z and Storm units, meat assault unit commanders do. Their responsibility is to assign the meat in front of the Ukrainian guns and then go back and prepare the next wave. So out of these 110, these 2 were captured. They are injured, and Ukrainian medics, one of them is a Georgian actually, are now repairing their wounds, tending their wounds, which is quite wholesome to see because really bad things are happening, right? Russia made one of the largest drone and missile attacks against Kyiv. We're going to look at it later in this video, and still you see Ukrainian and Georgian medics right here taking care of the Russian POWs. All the while, these same POWs, if they were to discover this unit, they would just do horrible things to them. So this shows you the inside of people, like what's inside the Ukrainians, what's inside the Russians. Ukrainians take care even of the Russian POWs. Alright, my friends, but now we're going to take a look actually on the military map, because while I was having my vacation, and I really did enjoy it, and actually you allowed me to have that, and I'm thankful for it, but now that I'm back, I see that Russians are pushing. One of the biggest pushes is to take Chasiv Yar. Chasiv Yar is in the eastern of Ukraine. We have the deep state military map right here, and these arrows. It's so stupid to talk about arrows because it's such a meme of military bloggers talking with arrows, like attack here, attack there. Simplified for you, these arrows show the biggest pushes, biggest daily pushes of meat waves of Russian assault directions. As you can see, Chasiv Yar, the city right here, from Bakhmut about 10 kilometers. Ever since the Russians took Bakhmut, their goal has been to take Chasiv Yar. Now they have about halfway taken it. Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that they took Bakhmut. Chasiv Yar, sorry. But they didn't. This map doesn't show it. Troops on the ground don't confirm it. And we have plenty of videos. We're going to look at them that Russians have not taken Chasiv Yar. But they are inside the city, inside the majority of the city, actually. But I just want to show you a little bit of the units who do the attack. Now, first of all, 98th Airborne Division. 98th Airborne Division. Then we have 200 Motor Rifle Regiment. Again, Airborne Division. 7th Air Assault Brigade. Special Purpose Battalion. So we got Special Forces and Motor Rifle Regiments. Motor Rifle Regiment is very much a blank regular Russian army unit which does the frontline assaults. And these airborne troops are the ones who will be sent in after a few waves of the, let's call it just a blank Motor Rifle Regiment, after they have taken losses and used up Ukrainian ammunition. So then the Air Assault Brigades will go in with their APCs, if they have any, or motorcycles, and try to advance, let's say, a few hundred feet. That's the tactics. That's what they use in Chasiv Yar also. And I want to show you a video about it, because of course we have a video about it. I mean, they do it every single day. I'll try to show you as much as I can. In Chasiv Yar, what holds the Russian onslaught back is the 24th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and they have a recon drone up in the air. Now, this is on the outskirts of Chasiv Yar, and we see these air assault troops right now entering with 2 APCs after Ukrainians have eliminated the Motor Rifle Regiment meat assault waves, injured or eliminated all of them. Now these guys show up. By the way, what is weird is that the 24th Mechanized of Ukraine reports that supposedly there were 5 women in this group of 15 assault troops. 5 women. I don't know why. It's weird. So 2 APCs, 15 troops. They spread into 3 groups, and we can see it perfectly. They all come off of the vehicles. And look at the arrows, Группа 3, Группа 2, Группа 1, they go in different locations, trying to spread the area of control so they can send in more troops to this like safe zone to take more area, like a landing zone in the city. But I will not show you the onslaught or slaughter or explosions, but what happens here, I will stop it now, is Ukrainians sending cluster munitions, drones, and artillery fire, bam, 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 everywhere, and all of these groups are eliminated. Now, this happens day after day after day, and with these tactics, they do advance 100 feet a day, 300 feet a day, and they do take losses. But why I'm showing you all of this is to show that Chasiv Yar is not taken by the Russians. And just illustrated one more time for you, Russian Ministry of Defense is quite hungry. Russian people are quite hungry for another Bakhmut. They want to see these Russian flags wave like on top of the Reichstag, you know. So Russians do these information operations. Look at that. They do send these Storm Z or Motor Rifle Regiment troops with flags, sometimes without weapons. I mean, this is a one-way trip. Look at these videos. This is Chasiv Yar, and all of these areas are Ukrainian controlled. But for a brief moment, Russian drone is up in the air and these guys are sent with the flags, and you get this footage. Doesn't matter what's the truth, Russian people see that Russian flags are waving over Chasiv Yar. That's it. All of these guys are now pushing up sunflowers on the Ukrainian soil. Look at that. They're gone. And their mothers will get stones for it. But the videos are good. The Russian Ministry of Defense shares them to the Russian public. And the public thinks, oh, we took another town like our grandfathers took the Reichstag. But again, they don't show that in 5 minutes drones connect to each and every one of these dudes, and all they had was flags, even no guns sometimes. This was, I wouldn't call it an info op because there's real dudes going in there and dying, but it's a propaganda stunt which claims many Russian lives. That's what it is. But my friends, it wouldn't be a proper video of mine if I wouldn't show you Russians smoking extremely carelessly in their own territory. And of course, I'm talking about them smoking carelessly in the electronics factory. Here, we can see a Ukrainian drone flying over a Russian city 550 kilometers from the border. Flying, minding its own business, and then suddenly sweeping down and hugging a Russian electronics factory building. Of course, the drone has nothing to do with the explosion that followed. I mean, that's not the drone, that's a Russian soldier working in the factory, just lighting a cigarette in the wrong place. This morning, Ukrainian drones attacked the Radio Zavod plant in the Russian city of Penza. Radio Zavod, which translates to radio factory. Very original. Is an enterprise specializing in the production of equipment for modern mobile automated control systems. And we have plenty of satellite footage also of the whole complex. It would take plenty of careless smoking soldiers to take down in this entire complex. But a start is a start. My friends, I haven't done this for entire time I was on vacation, but before that I didn't do it for a month. But now I'm ready to continue on it. We have 4 names. These are the biggest supporters, the biggest heroes of this channel who allowed me to take my vacation, and I really did need it because war is bad for the mind. This is as simply as I can put it. If I can have a little vacation away from it, it's good for me. It's good for the longevity of what I do. And you allowed it to happen. Barry Cox, thank you. Vate Frankis, aka effing Frankis. Thank you, Mr. Frankis. Jochen Matti, Sergeant California Gabomer. These 4 people have allowed me to take my vacation, and now I'm back rested and I will make videos for you until forever. Thank you. If you like my channel, buy me a coffee monthly membership is the biggest way to make sure I can continue doing it. Now, my friends, something massive that you already know, but since I was on vacation, I feel I have to mention it. I have to talk about this entire big topic. This was the Aeroflot breach, Aeroflot hacker attack. You know, the state-owned Russian aviation company that is responsible for almost all of the internal and external flights in Russia and going outside of Russia. Almost everything that involves planes and civilians is Aeroflot, which is the same company that did the same thing in the Soviet Union, by the way, and their coat of arms or their logo still has the hammer and sickle on it. Strange. Ukrainian and Belarusian partisan groups attacked Aeroflot on July 28th. Well, actually, they had control over the servers. They were inside the servers for 1 year, but on July 28th, they decided to finally act and pull out and make it public. And it was massive, it was a chaos. Planes were landed, flights were cancelled, refunds not issued, even the refueling schedule were effed up, everything. I just want to show you a photo. At the time of the attack on July 28th, this is what Russian skies looked like. Fully clean. A few planes still up in there. They will soon land and nobody will lift up for some days after that. I want to give you an overview what it really was. Cyber attacks are really painful, but let's be honest, they're boring. I cannot show you any explosions. I cannot show you any land invaded or liberated. but I have to talk about what was the pain, what was the damage. So I will try to do that. Hackers were part of the two separate groups that worked united. As I mentioned, one was Ukrainian partisan hackers, one was Belarusian partisan hackers. And they were called Silent Crow and Cyber Partisans. Really cool name. This is the message they left, a little plane and a little hi, hello to the Russian Aeroflot workers. And they also released another photo, which is so strange. This is what they found. Like they got access to almost everything Aeroflot had, everything. So this is a screenshot of an Aeroflot employee's desktop with a file called password. Wow, this is online security, my friends. This is crazy. The hackers stated that the CEO of Aeroflot used Windows XP and the servers were from 2003. So it's like a massive outdated equipment and so many security holes. It was super easy for them to get access to everything. They said they got access through the CEO's password, personal password, which he hasn't changed for 3 years. A CEO of the main Russian airplane company that is responsible for like majority of transportation inside Russia with planes hasn't changed his password and uses Windows XP on 2003. Wow. Wow. And I found a very brief overview. There's a lot of text on this, but I found the shortest I can so you will know everything. It was so massive. I just want you to know about it if you haven't. Roundup of Aeroflot's chaotic day. Aeroflot was officially declared a disaster after a massive hacker attack. The airline's digital infrastructure completely failed. The website, booking system, ticket offices and fuel calculation systems are not working. Planes cannot take off. Employees have lost access to the work computers and email. There are huge queues at the airports. People are stuck without luggage and air conditioning. Aeroflot has lost 259 million to 500 million rubles in the past day, in one day alone, due to a hacker attack on its IT infrastructure. Russians, of course, immediately blamed the Ukrainians, which is true because it was the Ukrainian and Belarusian hackers who did this. Here you can see the list of cancelled flights. There's many. Also, the hackers destroyed 7,000 servers. And here you can see also a clip from the airports. I mean, everything is red, everything is delayed or cancelled. People are not getting refunds. They're not getting any information. You know how it is. You're in the airport, it's delayed. You want to go ask at the desk and nobody tells you nothing. They are not getting you a new flight. They're not getting your money back. It's so frustrating. This happened all across Russia in every last airport. This is massive. Amid mass delays and flight cancellations, RT found out what passengers should do and what they can expect. Basically misery and effed up schedules. The thing is, in Russia, they will not fix the issues like that. Something big like that happens, what you usually have to do is take the hit, analyze it and change so it wouldn't happen in the future. In Russia, this system doesn't work like that. The process, the steps are not like that. It's take the hit, blame somebody, put them in jail or throw them out of the window and continue like nothing ever happened. This will happen. And I have I've already prepared some memes for you. I mean, Russian transport minister was, let's call it what it was executed over a month ago. And now this happened. So Russian officials now, poison tea or window. Or they have another choice. Russian Minister of Transport, the new Minister of Transport, open window, charged gun, poison tea. In Russia, if you're on top like that, you're gonna take the blame for everything that happens and nothing will change. The attack will happen again and again, but somebody will fall out of the window left and right for it. Every such hit requires a few officials to fall out of the window and then things go on like nothing ever happened. Now, my friends, we go a little bit more international. I have watched what happens, Russia, Ukraine, United States and Trump in my vacation times. I sometimes scrolled what Trump did. I've been looking at it and I've had my fair share of entertainment. You know, I planted some flowers during my vacation and then scrolled what Trump did and I had a little laugh, little wholehearted laugh. But now finally at the end days of my vacation, end of July, I noticed a change in Trump's behavior towards Russia and towards the countries who buy Russian oil. For example, Trump punishes India for buying Russian oil. Finally, United States of America has a massive weapon, which is sanctions and tariffs, if they use it to punish Russia. If they use it on Canada, Mexico and the EU, they're punishing themselves. But if they use it on third countries who buy Russian oil, it's a weapon against Russia. Now finally Trump uses tariffs and sanctions at the right target. India, because India has been one of the biggest buyers of Russian fossil fuels ever since 2022. Ahead of Friday's new tariff package, Trump announced that a 25% tariff would be imposed on India, along with another unspecified penalty for importing Russian oil and weapons despite US sanctions. So Trump finally directs his tariff weapon to the right target. Finally. This really changes stuff. It does. You might think, oh, it does nothing. Trump is a Russian puppet. Okay. But the thing is, it does change stuff because Russia is able to fight and invade Ukraine because they get money from countries like India and China who are buying billions and tens and hundreds of billions of worth of their fossil fuels. If you punish, for example, India for doing that, India will want to be in the friends list of the United States, and this shows. India's state-owned companies have stopped buying Russian oil following Trump's harsh tariffs. They've now switched to crude oil from the Middle East and Africa. Some private firms continue purchases, but likely not for long. India is the world's third largest oil importer and the top buyer of Russian seaborne oil. This will hurt, like they changed for the Middle East, right? This will hurt Russia big time. They will again lose a customer who paid them hundreds of billions in the span of a few years for oil. Now this changes because Trump finally, maybe realized something. So this will have an effect. Also, Trump lashed out on India and Medvedev at the same tweet. I don't want to read it to you because it gave me a proper laugh when I was planting my flowers. I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together. For all I care. Ooh yeah, there's not many things I can say I agree with Trump. But this one sentence here, there's nothing here I wouldn't agree with. They can take their dead economies down together for all I care. We have done very little business with India. Their tariffs are too high, among the highest in the world. Likewise, Russia and the USA do almost no business together. Let's keep it that way. Again, I can't believe that I agree with him. For a moment. Until Medvedev, the failed former president of Russia, who thinks he's still president, to watch his words, he's entering very dangerous territory. Wow, spicy salt is flying. I love it. This concludes the Trump topic. I think he's very slow to realize some things, but maybe he's very slowly at the cost of Ukrainian lives, waking up to something that Russia does not want peace. He will not make peace. This war is Putin's legacy, and he will not give it away. It will take time. Trump is like a kindergartner. You gotta hammer that point in. And unfortunately, every attack on Kyiv with missiles means more Ukrainian casualties among civilians. But 15, 20 attacks later, Trump has finally directed his tariffs and sanctions to India, which hurts Russia. But now, my friends, I will end this video with a topic I like to pronounce: God punishes Russia. Because 8.7 magnitudes earthquake, which is one of the biggest earthquakes, not the biggest, but one of the biggest in the entire world ever. One of the biggest. And it happened in Kamchatka region in Russia, far east. Of course, it's so far from Moscow, I want to cry. I wish it happened in Moscow, but it didn't. The thing is, still, it made a massive tsunami. Japan and even Hawaii got a massive tsunami warning, and tsunami did arrive there. Unfortunately, that earthquake underwater also hurt these beluga whales, which were washed up in Japan. So this Russian earthquake punishes Japanese whales. They're beautiful. Look at them. They're pretty. Luckily, these Japanese fishermen are pouring water on top of them, keeping them nice and cool. But the thing is, it's truly massive. Let's look at the footage for a moment. This is what it looked like, the earthquake. Crazy big, right? But there's almost no people living in that area. But what was damaged was the Russian Far East submarine base. Well, namely the home of the Russian Pacific Fleet. And I'm so glad. An earthquake with magnitude of 8.7 struck near Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka, a city located in the same bay that hosts several key Russian submarine facilities and naval infrastructure. Given the quake's intensity and the resulting tsunami, some damage is possible. The earthquake epicenter was located roughly 100 kilometers from Avancha Bay, home to Russia's Pacific Fleet, which hosts both diesel and nuclear submarines. Early footage from Petropavlovsk Kamchatka indicates damage from both ground shaking and tsunami. And this is lovely because there were 5 submarines in dock at the time of the tsunami and at the time of the earthquake. We don't have footage much of this specific home of Russian Pacific Fleet, but they were damaged. They were damaged to the infrastructure, and I hope they were damaged to the submarines. I would call it God's punishment to the Russian naval forces, but that's not it. I mean it, because top shop commercial, but wait, there's more, because the biggest volcano of the entire European continent erupted, again in the same location. Russia is the only country where even geology has joined the resistance. After the strongest earthquake in history, the highest volcano in Eurasia suddenly erupts. Seems like Mother Nature herself is done living under Putin. Now, again, yes, I have my jokes, but actually, I gotta be real with you. This is part of a geologic area we call the Ring of Fire. There are several volcanoes there, and there's earthquakes yearly, almost monthly. They're smaller usually, but this one was big. And as much as I would like to say God punishes Russia, it's just what happens in the Ring of Fire. It's the tectonic plates connection area, and this is what it happens there. So, hey, but no, it's God punishing Russia. This is what I will leave it. This is what I will leave you with. Of course, a little more small detail is, what you didn't know is that Trump actually ordered this earthquake and ordered this volcano to be erupted as a warning to Russia, because he gives Putin another 5 years for deadline. 5 years, and then Putin must end his war. Trump is really pushing. So he, showed a little bit of muscle and ordered this earthquake and volcano to be erupted to show Putin that he means business. All jokes aside, my friends, I'm glad to be back making videos for you. Actually, I missed this process a lot. It gives my life a lot of meaning to make these videos. I feel like I'm needed. I feel like you guys need me to make these videos. I feel good if I make them, because I make jokes and, it helps me also mentally. Of course, I need to rest, and I did rest. But it's, of course, tough to rest when I don't have, one of my favorite activities, which is making videos like that. But you cannot work all the time, especially when it's war. So it's this weird situation where I force myself to rest, and I'm able to do that thanks to Buy Me a Coffee monthly members. But I have to do that, otherwise I don't think I could do this in the long term, because reporting on war and death and suffering is hard as it is. I do make jokes, but it leaves a mark on my head. So thank you for allowing me to take a vacation, and now thank you for coming back, and I'm back and ready to attack. Until my next video, my friends, which will be every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye. Go to surfshark.com/Artur or use the code Artur at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring today's video.